Ramsey, it was discussed and agreed that this building would not be used as a dwelling unit. And I would like to add that Mr. Ramsey also provided mitigation strategies. He also talked to us about the GIS mapping that we use from the county's parcel zoning viewer. I can certainly understand your frustrations when just a small portion is involved in the property. It's the best we have to go on, and so it's one of those things. If it appears that we need to check something out, then we have to move forward to check something out. So, while I totally understand your concern, I appreciate you going through the process with us. And it's unfortunate that you lost your tree to a windstorm, but
Lost
maybe
5 trees.
5?
Well, one tree fell, the other ones were in the way.
But that was in 2019. That was not in this recent one that we just had over Labor Day, right?
This time.
So therefore, his strategy, he says, therefore mitigation has already happened. The fuel has been removed. So, a rough way to get it done, but darn Mother Nature sometimes. Ryan, is there anything you want to comment on?
You know, I just comment on the presentation, being able to draw it out, see it there, and then to show the before and after, to show that foliage had been gone. I thought that was good, but I don't have anything more to comment on the project. So,
April, is there anything you want to comment in? Rob or Max?
No, other than it is very well presented. Appreciate that.
Yes, I should have you give a class on how to present.
That's honestly because of my class.
That's right. You are at Utah State, aren't you?
I am.
How is that going?
Yeah, as best as could be expected.
Well, at least they're back in school, I guess, somewhat. Do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make before I call for a motion?
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, I would entertain a motion for approval of a conditional use for a request by Doug Ramsey for an accessory building located at 575 Edgewood Drive in Providence, based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions that were presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Rob Stapley, second by Max Pierce. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, voting was unanimous, so it's approved. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your presentation.
Welcome.
Okay, next we have another conditional use. This one's for a new home. We will consider for approval a request by Mark and Pat Jensen and Summers Construction for a new home located at 570 Sarah Street in Providence. So, Diane?
Okay, the application was received September 21st. Rob Stapley inspected the current infrastructure on September 23rd. Aaron Walker, Deputy Fire Marshal, inspected and reviewed the site, and the letter is dated September 28th. The findings and facts are exactly the same as the last item that we talked about. The conclusions of law, the only change is the GIS parcel summary indicates that this parcel is in a hazard landslide area. The conditions will continue, the applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, and Providence city rules, laws, codes, and ordinances. The applicant will mitigate landslide area by, they've submitted the landslide and fire hazard report that Civil Solutions did, and retaining wall drawings for the plans that they're going to do for the retaining walls that are on the site plan. There's also a retaining wall detail in the packet. This conditional use is for the home only as shown on the site plan, dates down to September 21st. Aaron Walker, Deputy Fire Marshal, reviewed the parcel in the interest of the fire safety provisions and regulations as adopted by the state of Utah and in accordance with the International Fire Code. Approval by the city of any application submitted or paperwork does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to state, local, and federal laws. Robin City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated.
Ryan, do you have any comments?
I don't appreciate that summary.
April?
My only thing is I'm just not seeing, like what Rob pointed out before, I don't see how wide the driveway is or the height of the house.
You want to come up and introduce yourself and take a minute?
Rob Summers with Summers Construction, representing Mark and Pat Jensen.
And before you go on, Rob, we do have a letter in our packet from the Jensens authorizing Summers Construction to act in their stead, so go ahead.
It does show that the driveway is 26 feet wide on the plot map,
It does.
on the site map.
Do you see where that is? I just
Oh,
passed.
now I see it, okay. Now I see it. And then do you know the height of it?
I don't, but when I sit down and pull it up on my phone, the plan, and I know it's got, I seen it on there, but I'll have to pull it up, the overall height.
So,
It's on the side here.
It'll be on one of the elevation sheets.
Yeah, it's on the side of the elevation sheet that shows front and back elevation and rear elevation. It looks
okay,
like
my eyes are too old to read
20
that.
feet.
Oh, it looks like 21.
10.
Yeah, I see it on the site plan.
Yeah.
It just wasn't on the application.
It's just about 21 feet.
Okay. So I'm gonna hurry and just briefly read a couple of things, since Diane referenced them in the conditions. Civil Solutions did prepare a hazard report for the area, and in their executive summary they gave, I'm just doing a very brief summary of the executive summary. It says the proposed location for subdivision is deemed suitable for residential construction. Given the site's location in a moderate fire hazard zone, it is recommended that the home builder incorporate elements of ignition-resistant construction where reasonable and observe the vegetation restrictions along the north and east borders of the subdivision described in this report. Also says that they observed the landslide area and associated features and examined the site for evidence of prehistoric, historic, and recent landslides events. Field investigations revealed clear evidence of prehistoric landsliding east of the proposed project. However, current site conditions appeared stable from geologic, hydrologic, vegetative, and soils indicators. The absence of traversed cracks or ridges, talus piles, chaotic land surface texture, shallow groundwater, jackstrawed trees, or unstable soils indicate that the partial slopes have been stable for centuries, if not millennia. So, and then it does say that there is a low hazard risk associated with this. It talks about landslide risk determination. There is a low hazard risk associated with this hazard. No evidence exists of landslides in recent geologic time. It is the engineers, let's see. And then it pretty much restates exactly what I just read from the summary. So, that being said, Max, do you have any questions for Rob on the construction, on the footings, or what was it, a retaining, what were we?
We provided engineered retaining walls for the retention on the east side or backside of the property.
Matt, do you have any concerns, Max?
No, I mean, it does show, and I don't know that this matters too much, because you do have a 4 foot, or, I guess it does say 6 foot, so it was revealed. I was just comparing your site plan to the detail on the retaining walls, and now that I'm thinking about it, it does say it's a 6 foot wall with 3 foot.
Well, I have two, he's showing two different diagrams. We will be going with the 8 foot wall so that we met our grade, so we'll have an 8 foot retaining wall with the half berry.
But the site plan shows 3 retaining walls total. Is that the plan? You
Correct,
have
yes,
2
for the
3
grade.
foots and then a 4 foot, 2 6 foots and then an 8. Is that what you're?
We'll actually have, there'll actually be the 3 8 foot
3 8.
for the grades.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Rob, have you got any questions?
No.
Okay. So, Rob, the only one really, I mean, we have to be concerned with all of the retaining walls. They need to be done properly, but the one that's in the front yard, you'll need to make sure that you look at our ordinance and make sure that that is flush. So
There's
that,
not a retaining wall. It'll be in the back and partially down each side.
oh, sorry, I looked at it backwards, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Any other comments anyone has or wants to make?
The hammerhead, which is a temporary turnaround, we just need to make sure we keep that clear for snow plows, garbage trucks, and fire engines. I've had a lot of problems with some of these hammerheads recently, and so to make sure your contractors are all aware of that.
No
We don't
parking
wanna
trailers
block that
and stuff like that. Okay.
And pass that on to the property owners too.
Okay.
Sometimes those extra little bits of asphalt turn into really nice extra parking pads for RVs and whatnot, and that really does need to maintain its integrity for, definitely for emergency vehicles, but more common than not, it's the garbage truck and the snow plows that we are looking out for. So, I think sometimes people don't understand that the garbage truck comes every week, and the snowplow comes often during the winter.
Sure.
So that really does need to be kept open. A couple other things, just a quick reminder to make sure that you have your property lines marked when they come, and also kind of a little bit of a disclaimer. We can't guarantee what Mother Nature will do. We make our best efforts to have the buyer beware, but we don't guarantee that when you follow all these rules, it's still going to prevent something from happening that is out of our control, or your control for that matter. But we do appreciate that you are taking the time to go through and make the property as safe as possible for these and future owners that will be there. So thank you. If there are no, Ryan, were you raising your hand?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm good.
Did you raise your hand?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. If there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to approve the conditional use requested by Mark and Pat Jensen and Summers Construction for a new home located at 570 Sarah Street in Providence, based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions that were reviewed during the meeting and on the staff report.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Max Pierce, second by Rob Stapley. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Voting was unanimous. Thanks.
I did have one question, if that's all right.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. What, as far as the process then from here that goes to Cache County, do you, time expectancy when you guys submit that to.
I'll email you when we have the record decision and the zoning permit all ready to go. And then someone can come pick it up, and then you pay the impact fees then, and then you take all of your plans and everything over to the county.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Should be done tomorrow.
Okay. Last two items on the list. We are considering a request from Visionary Homes for a conditional use for a new home located at 194 East, 520 North. And actually, I think we will do both of these together unless these two gentlemen say otherwise. The second, our number 5 item is a request by Visionary for a new home located at 202 East, 520 North. Since they're almost identical, we'll just go through this at one time.
Okay. So, on the 194, there is a typo there. It's just lot 7, not 7DD. And then the next one is lot 8. They were both submitted on September 22nd. And Rob Stapley inspected the current infrastructure on September 24th. Findings of fact are exactly the same. In conclusions of law, both these parcels are in a high water table area. The conditions in number 2, the applicant will mitigate hazard water table by, and they both have the submitted the mitigation letter and the window well drain detail as usual. This conditional use is for the residents only as shown on the site plans. Date stamped September 22nd, 2020. Both of them came in on the same day again. Approval by the city of any application submitted or paperwork does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. Neither one of these had fire inspections. Okay.
Okay, Ryan, do you have any comments?
I don't.
April, any comments on these?
No.
Jessica, you got any questions on these or comments you want to make?
Nope.
Okay, just really quick for the record, even though we've read this several times before, we did in January 9th, 2020 receive a letter from Dallas Nickel, who is the development manager for the project. He says this was discussed in depth during the entitlement process for the Vineyard subdivision. The water table in certain areas of this development are relatively shallow, which qualifies this property as a hazard area for Providence ordinance. The geotechnical report provided by A Cash Corp on June 12, 2019 addresses high water table and indicates that a land drain would be an acceptable mitigation strategy that would allow the construction of homes with basements. Based on this recommendation, a land drain has been installed as a part of the subdivision improvements. Each single-family residence in the development that is planned to have a basement will install a fleeing drain that connects to the provided land drain. A detail of the fleeing drain design will be submitted to the city as part of each building permit application, which they have done true to form since the development was approved. If there are no other comments or questions on this, I would entertain a motion to approve the conditional use and zoning approval for a residential site plan for a home at 194 East, 520 North, and the home at 202 East, 520 North, based on the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and conditions listed in the staff reports.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Rob Stapley, second by Max Pierce. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the voting was unanimous. Just a little by the side, I did have somebody call that had moved into Vineyard recently, or were getting ready to. They purchased their lot or purchased their home or something, and they were a little bit concerned when they found out from a neighbor or a friend or something that there was a high water table in the area, and I talked to them about what we went through, and they were happy and said they would continue with the sale. So it probably seems like a lot of hassle, but
Well, it makes a
did make that
difference. I'm
person.
surprised they didn't already know about it because we usually disclose that fully during the process.
I'm sure you probably did, but maybe they were doing their due diligence. Maybe they hadn't actually purchased it yet. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for going through the process because it certainly calmed that person down.
Well, just saves a bunch of headaches down the road on our end too. So
Yeah, so far
do
so
it
good.
right from the beginning.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. You have a good afternoon. Unless there is something else that we need to talk about, which actually there is one thing that I don't know if we want to put it on a future agenda for us, but I did, Aaron Walker did talk to me a few minutes. He feels like we're starting to have a trend of people jumping the gun on their site improvements before they even start the process. So I think we probably need to maybe,
For these applications?
not these right here, not the ones we've talked about today.
No, I know, but I'm talking.
Yes.
The land use applications,
Land use applications,
okay?
the residential site plans and the conditional use permits that we look at for the site approval. My question is that something you want to discuss as a land use authority, or do we want to just take it through the course of code amendment process, or what we can do?
Can you tell me, I mean, I wasn't aware of this at all. Have you seen the same thing, Rob? I mean, what are they doing? Are they getting out digging foundations? What are they doing?
That would be the extent of it, from what, maybe a couple of.
Putting roads in.
The driveways are going in, and the holes. They're digging the holes.
Yeah, before they even get it approved, there's 2 of them up on Little Baldy.
Yeah,
that
there's
have
two
done
that I just thought of that they're
Yeah.
doing some dirt work, they're playing with dirt and moving, trying to get grades to accommodate Ryan's grades for, or not Ryan, Aaron Walker's grades and slopes and whatnot for the fire trucks. So, I don't know if this process legitimately should come in before they start trying to meet some of those fire requirements.
And this isn't something that's on our agenda. But Aaron did talk to me about it yesterday. He was a little bit concerned by it. And so, like I said, I just want to know your feelings, if you think this is something we need to pursue, or if you think we need to try and remedy it as a staff level before we try and create another ordinance or something. Because
Well, as long as they're talking to Aaron, if they're only playing with dirt, so to speak, moving some dirt, trying to do a driveway, if they're talking to Aaron about what the requirements are, where it's private, I think it's beneficial because they are communicating with the person who needs to give them the right guidance. I don't know where we have much law.
Well, that's
I guess that's a
actually-
legal question when it comes to the playing with dirt and trying to get close to grade.
And really, it's their risk, because they don't have an approval.
right,
That would be mine, is
Right?
I wouldn't start digging until I knew I could put it in that spot. And
It's
Even
gonna
if it is
cost them
cheaper.
money. Yeah, because if they don't realize the buildable envelope up there, and they're making that road and the house is gonna be outside that buildable envelope, that's a lot of money on that.
Well, we had an example today of somebody that had to go back through the process, and she's gonna have to dig a different foundation than she had a hole in the ground. He or she came on 1,000 South. They took a risk, and it did not pay off.
right. We've got another example actually, but they did have an approved permit, but they missed the number on the approved permit. So they got to restart. My concern is, and I think a little bit of Aaron's concern, he didn't want the fact that he was talking to the people trying to work out the driveway, have them come back and say, well, Aaron said to do this. I think it's just important that somehow we get the word out to people that if they're moving forward with anything before an official approval that is all on their risk. So, and I don't know, just something I wanted to bring up to this group to think about, and then we can talk. You can think about it, let me know your ideas on how you think would be some ways we can help. Not necessarily remedy, but definitely let people know that they are moving forward on their own risk, on their own dime with that type of thing. Unless anybody has any other comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, seconded.
Motion by Max Pierce, second by Rob Stapley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.